EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365. Back for another week of shows here on Birds 365. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Monday morning, brother? Back for another full week as we get closer to training camp, John. Just a couple of weeks out now, bro.
Yeah, man. What are we, 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks away from reporting day. So it is coming up quick.
Yeah, 16 days out, John, from July 22nd, 17 days out from July 23rd. And then what do we got until September 4th? That's the real question.
The anxiety is building.
I think we're under, what are we under? 60 days now for the September 4th?
Woo,
59 days. John, 59 days until the opener. 59.
Yeah. Boy, it's quick.
I can see the excitement oozing out of you, John.
Yeah. Like I said, man, this creeped up on. They're in camp a little bit earlier than normal. Yeah, it's funny, and obviously they played as long as you could possibly play. So it's going to be interesting. That's probably going to be one of the stories that nobody thinks about, few think about, but the turnaround is just insane. From winning the Super Bowl and getting right back to it. That's the most impressive part about the Kansas City Chiefs, that part of it. To go that far, and New England did it for many years with a little respite, but for teams that go there a lot. And the Eagles have turned into one of those teams that, 3 and 8 years is pretty impressive. And, all you have to do is look at the seasons after Super Bowl 52 and Super Bowl 57 and see how difficult it is. And one of the reasons it's so difficult, a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Attrition being number one, I would still say, but schedule, generally a first place schedule. But then also that, everybody else gets a big head start for the most part. While you continue to play and try to fight through things. And that head start could be, strategy, just getting guys healthy. This week I'm doing training camp previews, offensive line specifically. I mean, I think Landon Dickerson's going to be fine. I think Cam Jurgens are going to be fine, but they were hurt at the end of last year.
And they went longer into the season, as you pointed out, and they're starting earlier than most teams at their training camp. So no doubt about it. Johnny Mac, how was your 4th of July weekend, brother? All good?
Yeah. Nondescript, which is good in my world.
No lost fingers?
No lost fingers. No JPP style accidents. Yeah, I said last week, I'm not a fireworks guy because I'm a dog guy. So never really got into fireworks that much.
Yeah. I've never been into them, just period, end of sentence. But hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. It was a beautiful weekend, a great weather really all throughout the area if you're in the area. So I'm sure everybody had a great weekend. Great to see everybody in here. Everybody's going to start trickling in because we are getting closer to training camp. We're 2 weeks away, everybody. So
not for Jeff Kerr, by the way. Calling out my buddy Jeff Kerr.
Oh, yeah, you're calling out Jeff. Jeff canceled on us today, everybody.
He didn't cancel. He's on vacation, which is, everybody needs a vacation. I have no problem with that. But I get a text at like 10:30 at night. Come on, Jeff. Come on, buddy. No, but yeah, he does.
Jeff gives us enough time, so we're happy for him to get away. Good stuff for Jeff Kerr, but we will not be talking to him today. For those who do love the Jeff Kerr segment, which many of you do, I certainly love.
I like because it takes some of the heat off me. I like it.
Jeff did take some heat off you. He came in. He had some people to shit on every day. It didn't matter. We didn't know who it could be, but it was always somebody. So Jeff Kerr always brought that to the show. Good stuff for Jeff. Well, we'll talk to him probably next week as we'll be another week closer to camp at that point. We got plenty of stuff to talk about today. Good to see Tony, Dank Bird Gang, Sonny Buckets, Mike Fittery, Deshay's in here. Drew, Paulie, Bird Gang Girl, what's going on? Takeem Hilton, what's up, brother? Appreciate all of you guys for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button on the show today. It's one of the best things you guys can do to help us grow. And we want to obviously have another big season here on Birds 365 with the 2025 season. B-Mo, good to see you, brother. Johnny Mac, let's get right back into it, man. We closed up on Thursday before the 4th of July. We had a great show on Thursday, but on the top 25 list, we closed out at number 12, and it was Cam Jurgens. And I thought that was a pretty good spot for him, but you're now in the territory of kind of pick your poison. There's so many good players on this football team, and you have teased that you are not very happy. Player that landed at number 11, and I now agree with you very much so because of who I see is in front of him. I think he could easily jump the other two guys that we have here listed today. Maybe not the second one, but easily should jump number 10. He didn't. He's at number 11. John, the floor is yours. We're at number 11 on our countdown. Who is number 11 on the top 25 Eagles from Johnny Mack and Ed Kratz?
Zach Bond. Yeah, I'm not happy with that.
Yeah. First team all pro, and he's 11, John. I mean, or 12, John. 11. I mean, that's low.
Catch and strays. Jeff Catch and strays. My buddy Ed Kratz catch and strays here because it ain't because of me. He's 11. I had him at number 7, I believe.
We're making enemies today, John.
I know. No, but I mean, you got to stand behind your work, and I'm going to try to get out on this week to explain this. Look, everybody does this differently. I always say my description is, who does their job the best. The Eagles had the number 1 defense in the NFL last year. They had 1 first-team All-Pro. They had 1 guy who was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. We all talk about the Eagles' defense, and everybody says Jalen Carter, the best player. He's the most talented player. The best player by far last season, which, by the way, ended up with a Super Bowl, was Zach Bond. Period. End of sentence. And I had him at 7, and I thought, man, should I really put him this low? But there's so many good players, and and I always laughed at disrespect. And ultimately, this is a list, and our list is like anybody else's list. It's just 2 people's opinions meshed together. So turn the page if you don't like it. So I'm not upset, but I think it's silly that Zach Bond is at 11. Coming off
where
the
did
season
Ed have him on his list? If you had him at 7, get to 11. Ed did. Is he at 15?
Well, he was 5 spots lower, so he was at 12, I guess. 12. Which is and he ended up at 11. There's a lot of good players on this team. We started with 12. Cam Jurgens. Everybody on this list is good from this point forward. Really good. So you can nip and tuck, but the 2 rookies specifically who are going to be above them. I mean, upside projection, maybe down the road. Right now,
based on 2024, certainly not better than he was.
No. Again, 1 for first team All Pro on defense. 1 finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. Now, you can say this is what Cooper DeJean is going to become, or this is what Quinyon Mitchell is going to become, but that's projection. And you can say what Zach Bond did in the first 5 seasons of his career in New Orleans, but he didn't play. So, I kind of blame that on them for not realizing, hey, this guy's pretty athletic. This guy's pretty instinctive. Why didn't they give him a chance? That's something they have to deal with. And maybe falls flat on his face. I don't see it for those reasons. He's still young enough, and people look at his age, and he's one of the older players on defense because he spent 5 years doing relatively nothing. So he is a little bit older than the rest of the guys, but he also has very little tread off the tire from the perspective of those first 5 seasons. It's not like he's playing 1,000 snaps like he played last year, all of those seasons, where you have some, and that's when you look at the Eagles All-Pro on the other side of the football. They had one first-team All-Pro. That's Saquon Barkley. That's some of your concerns with him. Well, not only did he have the 482 touches last year, but he had all that, and those were difficult touches that we now know with the New York Giants because they didn't block for him. Those were difficult touches. So he doesn't have that. But, to me, the best comparison was Zach Bond was the Saquon Barkley of the defense.
Yeah, I think you're right when you say that. I don't think that's a reach at all.
And yeah, I can't put him at number 11, but that's where he ended up. I honestly thought I put him too low. At 7.
Number 7. I mean, and when you hear 7, you think, yeah, I want him higher. But then you start listing out the names, and I can see why you got him at number 7, just based on how many good, obviously talented players there are on the team. A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson. I mean, there's a lot of great players. So that's a little more understandable. Eddie K, I love you, brother, if you're listening, but I got to side with McMullen here. How do you get him down there at 12?
Yeah.
I don't know how Eddie Kratz had ended up there. One of my favorite, by the way, John, responses from Vaughn this year was when you were asking him about, he didn't have a lot of tread off the tires, but the workload was way up, and he's like, "You worried about me?"
Yeah. It was funny because he didn't even realize, like, he surpassed his career high in snaps very early in the season because he didn't play much in New Orleans, and I'm like, asking him about conditioning and playing all those snaps because he was the 3-down linebacker. And the rare time the Eagles play dime, he's the one who stays on the field. So he never left the field. And he's like, you worried about me? It didn't affect him at all. And probably because one of the reasons why is he didn't have that 5 years of mileage built up on the odometer, even though he played 5 years in the NFL. Was mainly just a special teams player, occasionally some snaps here and there. So, yeah, I mean, look, everybody on this list is good. The Eagles from, I said 1 through 17 on this list are the best team in football from a talent perspective. And then you have sort of the drop off to the second tier. So nobody on this list is bad. But even though it's my own list, and I hate the term disrespectful, this is disrespectful.
Johnny Mac takes it. So John does not discriminate. He takes a shit on his own list. Well done. Well done by Johnny Mac there. We're going to get to the top 10 today, too. We're going to run down number 10 and number 9. I got 9. I got a couple more questions on Zach Bond, and I want to refresh your guys' memory. As John points out, really the list got impressive at 17. 17 was Jordan Davis. Number 16 was Nakobe Dean. Number 15 was Reed Blankenship. Number 14 was Nolan Smith. Number 13 was Dallas Goedert. Number 12 was Cam Jurgens. And then number 11, you have Zach Bond coming in. John, how does Zach Bond try and get as close to, I'm not going to say duplicate or replicate, but get as close to what he did last year? Just like we talk about Saquon, that's a tough thing to go back and do. The odds are against you to go back and run for 2,500 yards. Well, the odds are probably against Zach Bond to go back and be another first-team All-Pro. It doesn't mean he can't do it, just that the odds aren't in his favor. What do you think he has to come back and do this year to try and get that honors again? And I think if he does that, that's a huge thing for the defense. The defense will obviously be much better with him playing at that level.
Well, I think it's easier to be first team all pro again than it is to match the numbers. Very similar to Saquon Barkley. Like Saquon could be first team all pro again, but he's not going to match the numbers. Same thing with Zach Bond. By the end of last season, it was ridiculous. He was making a play every day, every game day. It was just special. What he was able to do. So if people want him to, force 5 fumbles, whatever it was, and the interceptions in the postseason, and even the PBUs, the splash plays, as they call on defense, he was making basically one every game. That probably is not. You're probably not going to be able to replicate that. Can you replicate being one of the two best linebackers in football? Not that that's easy. Fred Warner being the other one. It's ironic. It's like Fred Warner's like a month older than Zach Bond. It's crazy. To play that consistent level of football, that's what the Eagles think he's going to do. What that looks like, where he's going to play, who's going to play next to him. What is that going to look like? It was a nice, everything clicked with the Eagles defense last year. Everything clicked. The guys up front were great. They helped, as Zach Bond will be the first to tell you. Jakobi had a great season that people forget about, playing right next to him, which helped because he can play weak side and not have as many responsibilities when Jakobi was out there. When he has to go play middle linebacker, that probably curtails your big play ability a little bit. That alone could do it. But if he plays effective and where the Eagles think he is and why they paid him, then it'll be fine. But there's a lot of things that come into that, similar to everywhere on defense. How is the chemistry going to be?
Well, a lot of these players coming into year two, John, of the Fangio. Well, year two with Vic Fangio. Obviously, they've played this style for a little bit, but year two with the godfather of the defense. I think that's obviously an advantage for a lot of these guys coming in. You even heard Zach talk about it on the Exciting Mike's podcast with Reed and Cooper, where he said, we're so much further ahead at this point of the year than where we were at this time last year. I'm phrasing, but that's what Zach said. I think that's a big advantage for him. Now, that doesn't mean it's a guarantee he goes out there and gets first team all pro again, but I do think that helps the defense overall and helps him. Because remember, he's going to step up. He's got a bigger role coming in this year, obviously. Signed a $51 million contract this offseason. He is now a leader of the defense, John, versus a guy that, broke out last year.
Well, he's got more on his plate. I don't know if that's necessarily true. It's just that he's more known because they put a lot on his plate last year.
Well, there's certainly a pressure, John, that comes with a big contract. I mean, you sign a big contract versus
that part of it, but he's the kind of guy who, and you saw it last year a number of times during the season when he was joking about, why is there a Pro Bowl incentive in my contract? When he was talking about asking Vic in training camp, hey, when am I going to get to rush the passer? He's very self-deprecating. He's like, doesn't seem to affect him. Now, that's on the surface. Who knows? Money can affect anybody in a negative way, more often than not. So you have to wait and see from that standpoint. But he doesn't seem like that type of guy. He just doesn't. So I wouldn't lose sleep over that. To his point, and he did say, we're way ahead of where we were last year. He's talking about the guys that were there. I'm not talking about the guys who were there. The guys who weren't playing, the guys who were either new or being expected to step up. That's the issue. It's the guys around him. When Vic is talking about, well, right, where are you going to play Cooper DeJean? Well, it depends on the other guys. Where are you going to play Zach Bond? Well, it depends on the other guys. Same answer.
Do you expect a different role, though, for him this year? Like maybe more of those hybrid packages? Maybe, we've heard about him working with Jeremiah Washburn a little bit. Do you think Zach has a wider scope of responsibility this year, for lack of a better word for it?
Well, if he's playing middle linebacker, he does. But that depends on the other guys. Is Campbell going to be ready? Is Jeremiah Trotter going to be ready? When is Nakobe Dean going to be back? So that will affect him, especially early in the season. as far as those hybrid roles, I think that has more to do with Bond and Campbell together. So again, depends on when they can get Campbell up to speed, not only on the field, but understanding the scheme and things like that more than Zach. And then I think you'll see it develop probably later in the season a little bit. And certainly by next year, by 2026, I think that's the plan. But this season, again, it's about, you're not a movie guy, but it's about Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. It's the other guys. It's not Zach and Cooper.
How does his leadership role change this year? Remember, you lost Brandon Graham, you lose C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you lose Darius Slay, and now you look at the starting lineup, and boy, you got some youth there. Zach is kind of the old head in the room. He's the unk, if you will, John. Has his leadership role changed? I don't know how much stock you put into that, but I certainly think it's important. How does that shift coming into this season?
I mean, it's important and it's overrated. It's both. Last year there was big concern. You're not going to find a better leader than Jason Kelce. They lost Jason Kelce and they won the Super Bowl. So when I say it's a little bit overrated, that's what I mean. Not that it's not important. You don't want a bunch of, I think you see the chemistry of the Eagles and what Nick Sirianni, probably his strength, getting people on the same page. And part of that is the locker room policing themselves, so to speak. But again, I've mentioned, people have asked me, it's Reed in the secondary, it's Jordan Davis up front, it's Nakobe Dean and linebacker are the leaders of the defense. And really, Nakobe is the quarterback of the defense when he's healthy and when he's out there. Now, Zach took over that role in the playoffs and everything was fine. And he can certainly do it from a trait standpoint. But as far as leadership, it's going to be Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Reed Blankenship.
Some youthful leaders, but in good shape. We'll see how it all shakes out. We're going to keep rolling down our list here on Birds 365. So Zach Bond comes in at number 11. John, quick note before we get to number 10. Did you happen to see what Bryce Huff said? I knew in training camp it wouldn't work out with the Eagles. He was looking for a trade pretty early on, Johnny Mac. I guess it really was that how we signed Bryce, obviously with the need for a pass rusher, and Vic Fangio just didn't want that type of player. I mean, that's how I'm reading it. I don't know what you think of it.
Well, when things go wrong, there's a lot of revision on both sides. I think so. In the moment, being there, it was clear that Vic was trying to teach Bryce some new things, some new ways of doing things, and it wasn't coming easy for him. And then from the standpoint of the frustration, and then the injuries happen. But I think that's revision. That I knew in training camp.
I'll give you the quote. I don't know if you.
No, I know what he said.
Yeah, I don't want people to. I mean, he kind of said that, but let me just read for the people who are listening. He said, "There's a plethora of things that went down. I don't want to get into specifics. Being in the league for 5 years, I kind of knew what it felt like for me to be in a good situation. I got to look out for myself and do what I think is best. I kind of knew where it was headed fairly early on into the season, probably even training camp, if I'm being honest. So when everything popped off, it was just like, yeah, all right, let's get to work." So that was Bryce Huff's comment. I don't think it was a bad comment by any means, but
I think obviously it didn't work out. Obviously he's frustrated. Obviously he wants to spin things in a positive fashion. No doubt. We talked about it on the show. He's used incorrectly, from Vic's standpoint, the argument would be, well, I'm trying to get him to be a more well-rounded player. I'm trying to make him better.
And we're not building a defense that needs Bryce Huff to thrive. The defense was the number 1 overall in football last year. So the defense thrived. Vic did his job.
Oh, yeah.
Huff just didn't work within it.
No, yeah. And from the standpoint of the idea that Vic can't utilize good pass rushers is just blown up by his history. I mean, he's had good pass rushers all over the place in his career, some of the best ever during specific seasons. So that's nonsense. But from the standpoint of, I always compare it to Fletcher Cox. Look, Fletcher hated the move from Jim Schwartz to Jonathan Gannon early the first year, 2021. And that's because he became a great player in the old school labeling purposes only, 4-3 attack, play the run on the way to the quarterback. That's what Jim Schwartz was. Bryce Huff would probably be good in that. That's why he's happy to be back with Robert Saleh, him on the edge, wide 9. That's what he wants to do. That's what and that's two things. It's a lot more fun for defensive linemen, number 1. And number 2, again, problem with the NFL. How do they pay these people? How did he get that $51 million?
Sacks.
And that's a league problem. So from his standpoint, I think when you hear an edge rusher verbalize, I got to get mine essentially. They're sort of like receivers in that standpoint. They all believe that because they all know what they're getting paid on. Like nobody's paying. We're all talking about Trey Hendrickson. What's he going to get? $35 million. What's TJ Watt going to get? Nobody's talking about getting $40 million for setting the edge, even though it's very important.
Right.
Certainly very important for Vic Fangio.
Probably more important, as illustrated by last year's defense, where their top sack guy and the number 1 overall defense in football was 8.5.
Yeah. So it's a difficult sort of path to navigate. And, the industry itself creates some of these problems by the way they pay players. There's no law. Like and I've talked about it a million times about Cooper DeJean. Well, how can you keep him in the slot long term? All fans are like, well, he played great in the slot. Keep him in the slot. Well, the difference is $50 million. If you're one of the best outside cornerbacks versus one of the best inside cornerbacks.
$50 million this year, John, means $75 million when Cooper gets to the table.
Potentially. Certainly more, probably not that much, but certainly more. So that's really part of the industry. Now, there's no law that says the Eagles can't say, you know what, this guy's different. We're going to pay him this because he's valuable to us. But teams just don't work that way. So they create their own problems sometimes. And yeah, same as receivers. Receivers want the ball. Edge rushers want to rush the quarterback.
No doubt about it. There you go. There's your commentary. Bryce Huff made those comments. So honestly, I wish the guy luck. He got a Super Bowl ring here in Philly, but obviously it didn't work out. And I wish him the best of luck. I got no ill will toward him. It just didn't work out in Philly, and we prevailed anyway. So why hate the guy? It's one thing if we stunk. It's one thing if we needed an edge rusher to win the Super Bowl and we didn't have it. We were good. I mean, I'm not going to hold a grudge against the guy. It's not his fault that they paid him $18 million a year. You would all take that deal. I know you would if it was offered to you.
Yeah, nobody's turning that down.
Yeah, right. So no issue with Bryce Huff, but I do wish him the best of luck. And I'll see you later, Bryce Huff. We'll take our commercial break. When we get back, we got number 10 on the top 10 and 9. We got 10 and 9 coming up on the top 25 list. How did Zach Bond fall to 11? Come on, Eddie Kratz. We'll talk to Kratzy soon about that one. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button on the show. It's one of the best things you can do to help us grow. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters. and the high rollers, to the shot takers and the tastemakers. Welcome to the viewfinders, the thrill seekers, and the night owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the jet setters and the high rollers, to the thrill seekers and the night owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 following the 4th of July holiday. Good to see everybody in here. We got a great crowd in here. Don't forget to hit the like button for us here on Birds 365. We'll be live every morning, 8 to 10 a.m. up until training camp. And we might have a little bit of a different schedule during training camp as Johnny Mack gets down there pretty early because of the heat, obviously, in July. So if the team is practicing earlier in the day, that means for us, we move the show to later in the day after the practice because John will get down there. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen, who, as I just told you, will be down there at training camp live every day. You can give us follows on X at Zander Krause and at JF McMullen. Johnny Mack, let's keep rolling along, brother. Here on the top 25 list, we just rattled off number 11. It's Zach Baun, first team All-Pro. I'm predicting he gets close to that again next year. Now we're down to number 10 on the list, John. This was a surprise to me. This one on the list here at number 10. Johnny Mack, who is number 10 on the SI Top 25 Eagles list for 2025?
The runner-up to the Defensive Rookie of the Year award, Quinyon Mitchell, number 10. It's interesting. If you look at our lists, basically, it's kind of flip-flopped with where we believe Quinyon should be versus Zach Baun in my case with Ed. I think I had Zach at number 7. I think Ed had Quinyon at number 7. Man, I had Quinyon out of the top 10. He had obviously Zach out of the top 10. I think I was right.
I think you were right too.
Look, very good player. Tremendous rookie season. Anytime you're in the conversation for being defensive rookie of the year, all good things coming for Quinyon Mitchell, and he should only get better. And that part of it, I think, and we'll try to get Ed on the show this week. I think it's got more to do with projection, which is fine. It's just a different definition. But even from that standpoint, I think you're going to see a little bit of a downtick this year, only because there's no more Slay.
Back to that other guy's reference, right, John?
Yeah, exactly. So now instead of playing right corner, left corner, he's got to go play left corner in place of Slay. That's the dominant side for most quarterbacks because they're right-handed. That's why you put your best cornerback on the left side. That's what Quinyon is. A lot of people will say he was last year, but he didn't play that role because Slay was here, and Slay's a 6-time Pro Bowl player, and he had a tremendous season late in his career. So he's got to play that more difficult role. And then you have, again, the chemistry part. Not only do you have changes elsewhere with whether it's going to be Kaylee Ringo at corner or Adoree Jackson, but the secondary as a whole, replacing C.J. Gardner-Johnson as well. So, you're by yourself out at corner, outside corner. So people don't think of the chemistry aspects of it, but, they will talk about traveling. Is he going to travel? Well, the Eagles don't do a lot of traveling because of big scheme. And the answer is probably no, because, the part when people talk about traveling corners that most forget is that, well, if he's moving, then everybody else has to move. And maybe they're not comfortable moving, or they're not good moving away from what they are comfortable with. So a lot goes into that, but just in general, big scheme is not going to do it a lot. Bottom line, doesn't matter who's out there. So I think that's a discussion way too many people have that don't understand his philosophy of defense. And then, you're going to have more matchups with the best receiver because you're on that side of the football.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's going to be more difficult. Not that he's not going to be good. He's a natural off coverage corner. That's why he's such a great fit here. Played a lot at Toledo, so he had that experience, which is big, and he hit the ground running. He's very instinctive. And he's very smart. He has a high football IQ. One of the things that's so difficult with big schemes is there's a lot of different zone coverages, and a lot of them have man principles where you got to carry a guy through your zone right up until you let him off. It is just when I have young players, what the most amazing thing of all the amazing things with Vic Fangio last year and that defense, the most amazing to me is the way Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean both played as rookies. Unbelievable. Because usually rookies are a freaking disaster when you ask them to do complicated things in zone coverages. Rookies are better served, and I talked about this with Slay, and Slay said, give me somebody who can play off coverage. Not people think the other way. It's easy to point at somebody and say, you got that guy. It's really hard to say you're in quarters coverage and you got to have man principles to this point, and then you got to let the guy go and pick up another guy. So
smart players, man. That seems to be the answer.
It is the answer. Communication. So he's going to be a really good player, but I think the perception is he's probably going to be a little bit going downward this season, probably under no circumstance of his own, to be honest, just a natural evolution. And he might become a better player, but people will perceive it as being less effective.
Just because of the matchup and the side and the more bigger responsibility he's taken on. But I think he's going to be in great shape. I will say, you just brought up Cooper DeJean. I'm scanning. I don't see Cooper DeJean on our list yet, so that means Cooper is coming in above number 10, where Quinyon Mitchell was. Amazing. You just pointed out, John, one of the most impressive thing from the year last year is those two rookies. Why do you think they had such success? Is it because they're smart players? Like, it was kind of crazy how damn good they really were, and not just in spurts, the whole year, consistently, all through the Super Bowl. In your opinion, what is it? What sticks out about those two guys?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's football IQ. Because as I just explained, you have to really be intelligent, especially early from a football perspective, in your career if you're going to play in the scheme. And they played so effectively. Both were top 10 if you look at PFF rankings, which is amazing. 2 rookie cornerbacks, top 10 in the NFL. Cooper was number 1. Quinyon was number 9. Just an amazing, and that's what I say. Anybody can go online right now, and I say it all the time, and find big schemes and charts of them and diagrams of them and just copy it. Teaching it is what he does better than anybody else.
Teaching it, and then they apply it, no doubt about it. So Quinyon, big year last year as a rookie. He comes in at number 10 on the list, and he's going to have an even bigger role this year. Looking forward to seeing how Quinyon Mitchell progresses this year. What a home run pick he was, everybody, last year. What did you, 23rd overall, John, or 22nd? 23rd?
I believe he's 22nd.
22nd overall for Quinyon Mitchell, yeah. So pretty impressive rookie campaign for Quinyon Mitchell, and I expect him to have a long, great career here in the city of Philadelphia. So looking forward to seeing that. You know what I love about Quinyon too, John? He's just got a swagger about him. He's just got a confidence about him. Like when he picked off the ball on Terry McLaurin and he kind of mocked Terry. And he's one of those dudes that's quiet.
Well, he's very quiet. That started right away with AJ. He's like, Quinyon, for people that don't know him, he doesn't say a lot. Like he's not a Brandon Graham trash talker. He's not, Brandon starts from the coin toss. Kelsey used to get mad at him because there'd be some defensive linemen out there and Graham would be trash talking him. And Kelsey's like, man, I got to block this guy. And Quinyon is the exact opposite. He's quiet. And then he drops the bomb. And AJ was joking early last year in training camp. It's like, this guy doesn't say anything. And the Eagles do that purposefully, by the way. And they matched up Quinyon a lot with AJ Brown in training camp because they wanted him to get better. And they're doing one rep together, and he looks at AJ and it was incomplete. He goes, trash route. It's like, what? It says nothing. And then it just drops the bomb on you. And, that's an interesting part of Quinyon Mitchell because he's very
confidence that was needed at that position, John. It really is.
Oh yeah. You're going to get beat as an NFL corner. Yep. So
short memory. You got to have a short memory.
Very short memory. Goldfish memory. Yeah.
I used to get that, John. That used to be a story of my life when I was a goalie in hockey. That puck goes in. Before the puck drops again at center ice, you better have forgot about the goal or else you're effed. Same thing with cornerbacks. You get beat on a play before the next snap, you better forget about it and move on or else you're going to get beat again.
Yeah, and it's especially when you talk about the so many times, especially with this defense, when guys do get beat, what do you see? You'll go to social media or Twitter and you say, oh, so-and-so got burned or toasted, or might not even be their fault. There might have been coverage over the top that didn't get there. Maybe the safety was late. Maybe the safety wasn't doing his job. Sometimes it is the corner's fault. Just looking at a play and saying, oh, this is the closest guy to this receiver. He made a mistake. That's tough to deal with. That's why corners get defensive sometimes. It's like, and you get a lot of you don't know ball comments, because it can be especially with Vic, it can be complicated as far as the responsibilities and coverage. And you could be doing your job and somebody else falters, and saw that in Super Bowl 57 when they blew both of the coverages late. That's what you kind of expect with a Vic Fangio defense, and it didn't really exist all that much last season, which is unbelievable.
No doubt about it. Looking forward to seeing what Quinyon Mitchell does this year, moving forward in this defense. Year 2 with Vic Fangio and year 2 in the NFL for both him and Cooper DeJean, and obviously all the rookies last year. But those two had the biggest impact on the team, and I have high expectations for both of those players. John, let's keep moving on now. So number 10 was Quinyon Mitchell, and now we've officially cracked the top 10. Moving into number 9, Johnny Mac. I was a little surprised by this name at first, but then when I thought about it, I'm like, no, this is probably where he would end up if I laid out my top 10 as well. Number 9, Johnny Mac, who do you and Eddie Kratz have on SI.com for the top 25 Eagles?
Number 9 is Devontae Smith. And to me, Devontae Smith is the sort of litmus test of just how good this stinking roster is at the top, because this is a really good football player. And you can haggle and say should be 7th or 8th, but when you see the guys ahead of him, you're not going to complain. And nothing negative towards Devontae. It shouldn't be negative on any city to be in the top 10, but it would be interesting to see this guy as a true number 1 receiver and see what he could do. The Eagles have the luxury. Boy, the receivers, if you think about where they were, I was writing my training camp preview at wide receiver. You don't have to go back too long to this fan base was losing its mind over like a 4-game run by Travis Fulgham, which wasn't even that good. It was one really good game and then a bunch of 70, 80-yard games. And they were losing their minds because there was no production at wide receiver. And now you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Just the glory days of wide receivers in Philadelphia. All due respect to Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin. If you want to go back to Mike Quick and some of the things, this is by far the best tandem in Eagles history. By far.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's relatively close either.
No, it's not. It's not.
Which is a little bit of a catch-22 because one of the things that we talk about that needs to get better is the passing game.
Yeah, it is weird. It's weird. And maybe, we always talk about Vic a lot, and maybe this is whether you want to give Nick the credit, Howie the credit, both the credit, to have this many really, really gifted players who are pretty much okay with others doing things. You don't get that everywhere. We just talked about Bryce Huff wanting more sacks. Of course, AJ wants the football more, but the people who think, his comments after Carolina are horrible or whatever, that overblown them. I mean, compare that to other cities. Edge rushers. Again, why is Trey Hendrickson? Now, Cincinnati's a abysmal organization, but The guy wants his money. TJ Watt, Pittsburgh is not an abysmal organization. He wants his money. The fact that the Eagles have been able to have all these guys and make them happy is a testament to Howie and Jake Rosenberg and Bryce Johnston, everybody who does those contracts and figures out a way to make everybody happy. And it's also a testament to the Eagles, just I was talking about with Cooper potentially down the road. They were okay with paying Devontae Smith despite the fact that he doesn't have the numbers of a number one receiver because he doesn't get the opportunity. But I think if he did in a different world, I think he'd be every bit as good as most of those guys. It's an amazing football player, Devontae Smith.
He really is. This is the one I was surprised at. Well, we had Zach at 11 today, Quinion at 10, then we had Devontae at 9. That's where I was like, boy, I thought Zach would be above a Quinion. I like Devontae at 10, but you could have argued Zach could have jumped both of them. I mean, like you said, you're in a territory where, like, I like this comment here on this. Let me find this one comment. No, not that comment. I think everyone in top 10 could be interchanged a few spots and no one would argue. It's kind of how I feel about where we are right now from the top 11. But an interesting list there, and Devontae is obviously an unbelievable player. Number 9, pretty good for Devontae Smith being the wide receiver number 2 on the team, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I mean, and you could argue it'd be higher, but that would need to be I think he would be higher.
I think last year was his low, John, in yards. I think 833. I think he had.
Well, he had a couple injuries too. He's been very durable for the most part, which is crazy considering, his body type and. That was all we talked about when the Eagles drafted him at number 10 overall, was can he hold up in the NFL? He's amazingly strong for his size, but he did miss a few games for the first time last year. So that's why his numbers were down a little bit. Well, plus the Eagles were historically good in the running game, so that factored into it as well. So it's a give and take, but yeah, it's one of those things where, and that's what the Eagles have tried to set up and have set up. It's pick your poison. It's all right. You want to stop AJ and Devontae and Jalen, we'll give it to Saquon. You want to stop Saquon, we'll throw the ball to those guys. So that's what they're trying to set up. That's how it worked out at the end of the last season, and they won the Super Bowl. And we'll see if they can go as heavy, run heavy as they did last year. I think it's interesting from the standpoint and how he deserves credit for building this roster. Guys like Johnny Wilson, who people don't think about, Ben Van Sumeren, who people don't think about. There could be time when they roll 13 personnel out there with Johnny Wilson at wide receiver as a blocker and Ben Van Sumeren. Well, it would be 22 with Ben playing fullback. They can roll out like nobody can shed blocks in this league because they're all undersized. And I was thinking about that over the weekend for some reason. And I remember it was one of the Notre Dame coaches. I don't know if it were Lou Holtz that went on, but it was one of those guys talking about playing Navy every year. Navy's a pain in the ass to play because they run that triple option. Nobody plays it. There's a couple other teams. Army has done it in the past. Georgia Tech has done it, but very few teams. So you can't justify practicing it a lot against it because you got to worry about bigger foes down the road. So you basically go into a week playing Navy in college and say, you got a week to figure this fucking thing out. And sometimes it looks ugly. Because guys don't know what they're doing and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, you get my point. The Eagles have I think they're building this roster when you have guys who people don't even think about and saying the whole league is undersized on defense. And if we line up with these guys and Saquon Barkley, who's going to stop us? I brought it back. I thought Bill Belichick would be the guy to do that, but it turns out it was the Eagles, and Howie deserves credit for that. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and say they're going to run that 500 times, but I could see them running that type of offense 5-10 times a game in situations and it being very, very effective for them.
No doubt about it. We'll see how it shakes out. John, if this is going to be a kind of a tough question because I don't really put Devontae into this type of category, but how do you define like his role? Like some guys you hear they're a deep threat. Some guys you hear they're a third down chain mover. Some are good run support guys. I'm not saying Devontae's any one of those things, but how would you list out what his unique role is as the wide receiver 2 in this offense?
I mean, there's X, Z, and flex or slot wide receivers. Most people, Eagles default to 11 personnel. And it's because I was just doing my training camp preview at wide receiver. One of the things I hate doing is depth charts but you have to do them because people want labeling. And I said labeling. Well, AJ's the X, Devontae's the Z, and flex is Jahan Dotson. But all three can play all three different positions, so it's meaningless. And that's what the Eagles have done. And they move guys around. They toggle guys around to create matchups they want. So the beauty of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith specifically, is all three of them can play all three of those positions. All two of them can play all three of those positions. And Dotson can as well, but just not as effectively, obviously. So I'll leave it to A.J. and Devontae. They play all three of those positions. They move around. So Devontae Smith is not a wide receiver 2 or a Z receiver. He'll play X. He'll play in the slot. AJ will play Z. He'll play in the slot. And they move trying to create matchups. They move guys around. It would be interesting to me to see this offense as a pass-heavy offense. You don't want to see it. It's effective, obviously, but I think it would surprise some people. Probably not going to win, so people don't want to see it. But I think it would surprise some people what numbers they would put up if it were they had like a bad running back situation.
Meaning you think those numbers would be big?
Oh yeah. I mean, to have two receivers like that who can play all three positions, basically from play to play, and shift, you could have AJ playing X on first down, Z on second down, flex slot on third down. Same with Devontae, if you wanted to. To have two guys that can do that is unbelievable, and it's rare. And it doesn't show up enough, but it's hard to complain because they won the Super Bowl.
No doubt about it. So Devontae Smith coming in at number 9. We'll see what he can do this year. We'll see what the offense does this year, using him even more so in the passing game. I'm curious to see how much he gets. And then obviously you have AJ in front of him, one of the best receivers in football, and you got Jahan Dotson behind him. So it's a very good receiver room, John. If they did want to turn on that passing game, boy, they got the weapons to do it. No doubt about it. But we'll see how it all shifts this year. Coming into the offense, but overall, I think you feel pretty good if you're Kevin Patullo and you're inheriting all these great players. Devontae Smith at number 9. You're still going to have Jalen Hurts. You're still going to have AJ Brown. You're still going to have Saquon Barkley. You're still going to have Mailata and Lane and Landon on this list. I mean, you got a lot of good offensive players on this team, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, the talent on offense is ridiculous, and that's part of the reason why we nitpick when it's not going that well, because you rarely see this level of talent, especially in the modern era when, guys tend to break up. That's the reason Mekhi Becton's not here, because they couldn't afford to pay him because they have to pay 4 offensive linemen enormous money. And, they're trying to get through with the 5th offensive lineman. Great tight end, great receivers. Jahan Dotson certainly the most talented third receiver in the Nick Sirianni era. Think about Jahan Dotson. You can say, well, he's a disappointment. He was the 16th overall pick, and he didn't do this in Washington, and he didn't do that. That's fine. He was probably even overdrafted at 16. But how many third cornerbacks in the NFL can deal with Jahan Dotson from a trait standpoint?
Not many.
Many. And you saw him get open pretty much at will. They didn't use him that much, but when they did, he made the play.
I think Smitty has his best year as an Eagle this year coming up.
Well, that depends. What does that mean? Numbers wise? Again, that depends on you got to play
impact on the game.
You got to play 17 games. You got to be healthy. His second season was pretty impressive from a statistical standpoint. I don't know if he can reach that the way they're currently constructed. Now, God forbid Saquon gets hurt, and then he'll probably surpass it. But people don't want to see that happen for obvious reasons. So to me, same thing with Zach we were talking about. It's about what you just said. It's about efficiency. And Devontae Smith, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to lose a minute of sleep with Devontae Smith.
I think Devontae's going to be here a long time. I could see him being here for at least another 6, 7, 8 years. I could see it.
Yeah, again, that depends on health, and at some point, the body will work against him, but he's still young, and he's already got his extension, so yeah, he's going to be here for a long time.
Yeah, team-friendly deal too. So good stuff there for Devontae Smith. We got a couple of comments, John, we'll get to before we get to our commercial break. Alexander Harris checking in. What's up, Alexander Harris? Good to see you in here. Member for 10 months. Well done, brother. That's pretty good. Thank you, sir, for the support of the channel. And thanks to everybody listening right now. Commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Alexander says, I feel everyone in their second year in this defense will be way better, especially with the entire coaching staff returning. Do you agree? Question mark.
Well, we talked about that earlier. I mean, the guys in the second year in the defense, yeah, they should be more comfortable in the defense. Whether the defense is more effective, I mean, that depends on the other guys. The other guys stepping in for a host of major, what were top tier competitors, not only Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, CJ Gardner-Johnson, but also, key reserves, Isaiah Rodgers, Oren Burks, yada, yada, yada. That's a fucking lot to replace. Like, I mean, you turn the page that quickly and say, well, some slapdick can, step in for Milton Williams, some guy, and I'm not saying, because more.
No, I just love that word in general, slapdick. I don't know why.
I mean, it's
a good word.
It's like, oh, these guys don't matter because they're gone. They were a big part of it. All those guys, down to Oren Burks, who the Eagles, linebacker play last year was insane, starting with Zach Bond. But Oren Burks, when Oren Burks got hurt against Green Bay in the wild card round, all I thought about when Nakobe got hurt, all I thought about was the Super Bowl the year prior and what Kansas City did to Oren Burks when he came in for Dre Greenlaw got injured. And it was a freaking disaster for San Francisco. A disaster. And that's all I would think about. And with Vic, he comes in and he was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every bit as good as Nakobe was. I can't explain it. So to assume you can look at it both ways. I guess the fan's going to be hopeful. Well, he did it with Oren Burks. Why can't he do it with Trotter?
Right.
He did it with Isaiah Rodgers. Why can't he do it with Adoree Jackson? He did it. So I get it from that standpoint, but I don't like the odds.
Yeah, I mean, their hit rate's been pretty good on those players. I know obviously you do have some misses. We're about to bring up another one on the next super chat, but I feel like that's a factor too. I mean, people feel like Howie has brought in the right guys to be able to do that, and add that with Vic Fangio. I think you have a better odds in that circumstance than other teams would have in that circumstance.
Well, I think you always have better odds with Vic teaching people than.
And I personally think better odds with Howie too. Than most
yeah, Howie's top.
Yeah, what's his hit rate compared to other GMs in the last 5 years?
Well, yeah, Howie's tremendous GM, but you're at the as a GM, you're at the mercy of the coaching staff. When the players, you give the players to the coaching staff. So when it comes to players and development, I give the credit more to the coaching staff than I do to the GM. For Howie, it's about evaluating players, getting the right players for the system. A little bit of a different grading scale.
No doubt. Let's get to our next super chat here. Brian Pumper checking in. Pump, I don't think you were here in the first hour. We did talk about this, but we'll go back to it. Brian Pumper says, being the resident Bryce Huff stan, J-Mac, how you feel about his comments? He said he wanted a trade early in his training camp last year.
Well, Zander read the comments, so you weren't here. First of all, it's always Pumper. It's like stan. What a stupid word. That's what you guys do. Like, I won't think of Bryce Huff another day in my life because I don't got to cover him. I'm not a fan of Bryce Huff. But that there's two words I hate in Philadelphia. Violation. No offense, Anthony Gargano, if you're out there. And Stan. I like it's so hackneyed.
What does like, Stan mean? Just like a fan?
Super fan, I guess. Super. I don't even know. It's so fucking stupid. Leave it to Pumper. I don't give a shit about what Bryce Huff did. I covered him on the Eagles. Now he's not on the Eagles. I won't think about him for 10 more seconds. But we talked about, to the larger point, yeah, I think there, and we brought up his comments and we listed his comments. He didn't say he was looking for a trade. He said he knew it wasn't going to work out, basically. Zander read the whole comment. There's a lot of revision, as I said, when things go bad. There's revision on the Eagles side. There's revision on Bryce's side. Clearly, Bryce wanted to be in a situation where he could go rush the passer. Vic wanted to turn him into a more well-rounded player, and it didn't work out. And now both sides will point fingers and yada, yada, yada. Hey, they won the Super Bowl. He's back where he belongs with Robert Saleh. Amicable divorce. And, yeah, that's a violation, Pumper. Stop saying the stupid Stan word.
Violation for Brian Pumper. Pump, thanks for the super chat, bro. Appreciate it.
Do you see what I did there? Because violation's fucking stupid, too.
I'm with 30 Air. Didn't expect Stan to be what sets J-Mac off today.
Well, it's me of all people that get you guys are all Stans of fucking insert name. Pumper freaking loves, what Ace Bailey. Bailey Stan, the Ace Bailey Stan. Yeah, it's just stupid.
DC Trucker checks in. That's super chat. Appreciate all you guys in the super chats today. DC says, $5 super chat. The Chiefs went to 3 straight Super Bowls. Didn't they lose players and have to get replacements? So it is possible.
Well, of course it's possible. Anything's possible. It's difficult, which, again, I already talked about. For a number of reasons, it's difficult. One is, and how quickly this offseason has gone. We were talking about, we started the show with, training camps basically 2 weeks away. Schedule gets more difficult. Attrition is the biggest part of it. But yeah, you can overcome it. You probably got to do things in a different way. You're probably going to have to win with a running back who doesn't have 2,005 yards, 2,504 yards. You're probably going to have to do it without the number one defense, but can you do it? Yeah, it's just more difficult. And it's more difficult for all those reasons, but number one is always the attrition you suffer. And the Eagles suffered some significant attrition on the defensive side of the football. I don't even know why that's controversial to say.
No, I think DC just wants you to acknowledge that it's possible.
Well, of course it's possible. Doesn't happen that often.
No, definitely does not. Definitely an uphill climb, but I think we got the right people in the room.
The Eagles, again, the Eagles have made 3 Super Bowls in 8 years, which is a tremendous run, the best run in Eagles history. Super Bowl 52, what did they do the next season? Super Bowl 57, what did they do the next season? Not a death sentence, but it shows you how difficult things can be.
No doubt. Good stuff, DC Trucker. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. I appreciate all the support. We got a good crowd in here on the Monday after 4th of July. We read out how many days. John, what did I say? We got like 16 or 17 days until training camp and 59 days until the start of the football season, until the banner drops and we take on the Dallas Cowboys. Holy moly, it's coming quick, John.
Yeah, that's a good opening game for the Eagles too.
Oh, I love the opening game. Yeah. Eagles Cowboys, great opening game.
Yeah. Well, typically I like Eagles Cowboys games to be in really, really meaningful situations, but that hasn't happened much. And if you wait till the end, so many times over the years, it's been, well, the Cowboys are good and the Eagles aren't that good, or vice versa. And you never really get to see them go head to head. But now the Cowboys are, I don't think they're going to be better because they got their quarterback back and Cooper Rush isn't playing, but I don't think they're going to be a significant contender this year. And that sets up the Eagles because I think the Eagles have a difficult first 4 weeks overall, but it's really a difficult 3 weeks after the opener. I think they're going to boat race that team. I'm already making my prediction.
Wow. Boat race?
Yeah.
What is a boat race in Johnny Mac's eyes, though?
That's a route. That is a route. 3
touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, 10 points, 7. What is it?
Well, it's the NFL. 2 touchdowns, 14 points. It's not going to be close. It's not going to be close. I don't like what Dallas has done at all. Cherry's concerned with less important things than winning. I would not have hired Brian Schottenheimer, but they did. They still have the issue. I mean, their running back room is a freaking disaster. They're rebuilding their offensive line. They'll be better on defense because they got rid of Mike Zimmer. Game is kind of passing by. And Eberflus, terrible head coach, but he's a good defensive coordinator. And Mike will be back healthy, and a bunch of guys. I don't know where Overshawn is health wise, but Teron Bland should be back. So they should be better defensively, but they're a mediocre team. And I don't like them coming into Philadelphia in the opener when everybody's going to be fired up and they're dropping the banner, which I'm told is a big thing, and all that kind of stuff, and all the rigmarole to it all.
Johnny Mac will be videoing the banner reveal so we can post it on JAKIB at the home opener. I love it. Good stuff, everybody. Appreciate you all being here. We're going to take another commercial break. When we get back, I got some questions to prep for training camp, including a question about the great Howie Roseman. What is next on his agenda, on his to-do list? We'll talk a little bit about that. Appreciate all of you guys being here. Hit that like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers. to the shot takers and the tastemakers. Welcome to the viewfinders, the thrill seekers, and the night owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone and Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365, July 7th now, moving right along in July. June went by quick, and now here we are in July, and it's already a week into July 7th edition of Birds 365. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. Give us follows on X at Zander Krause and at JF McMullen. Johnny Mac getting closer to the season here, just 2 weeks away from training camp beginning, and as I mentioned, 59 days away from the season starts. I'm going to put you in the shoes of Howie Roseman. If you're Howie Roseman, it's tough to say before camp, obviously. I don't think any moves will come pre-camp, but what do you think's next? What do you think is next for Howie Roseman, if anything, before the season? Is his job done for the 2025 season? What do you think?
No, come on. No, Howie would yell at you. Talent gathering season does not end until the trade deadline, basically. And it doesn't even end there. You're picking up guys on waivers and things like that, although it becomes more difficult. But, that's what they do at training camp. I mean, they're going to be heavily focused on edge and corner and safety, all the positions we talked about on defense. And, how much talk has there been about Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt, and you got to bring these guys in, and you got to bring Justin Simmons in, and you got to bring Jair Alexander in. Now, the Eagles aren't going to do that, but if they get to training camp and it becomes clear that some of these players aren't working out as they hoped they would work out, that's when you get the Ronald Darby-like trades or the CJ Gardner-Johnson-like trades. Or maybe the other end of the spectrum. I was thinking about the depth on the offensive line. Let's say the guy nobody talks about, basically, Trevor Keegan. What if he steps up and all of a sudden, he's just the guy who's been working behind the scenes, never says anything, keeps his head down, keeps working. Maybe Stoughton takes a love to him and he says, you know what? This is my starting right guard. And maybe they look to trade Tyler Steen or Matt Pryor.
How much would that surprise you?
A lot, but I'm just giving examples. It could work both sides. It could work both ways. But what I guarantee is something is going to happen in training camp, and it might be the worst case scenario is injury, of course, where the Eagles go, we got to add something here. We got to add something there. Howie's not resting at any point. And, as long as Justin Simmons remains out there, the door's not going to be closed because that's the most. I think everybody's pretty comfortable. You saw it by one of the commenters. Like, why can't it happen? Everybody's pretty comfortable with Moro Ajomo. Everybody's pretty comfortable with Kaylee Ringo after some positive reports from us in the spring, or Dory Jackson can hold down the fort. I think everybody's excited about Makuba because of some of the reports, but they don't believe in Sidney Brown. It's interesting to me. It's like Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche. One of those guys isn't going to work out. At least one. Can't tell you which one. And then Howie will be working to get reinforcements. So it's not over, but I don't expect any splashy move before the start of training camp.
What's the most likely position you think he'd add right now, in your opinion? I know it's projection. Obviously, it all is based on how it unfolds in camp. But in your eyes, what's the most likely addition, if any?
Safety.
Would that be a guy like Simmons? I mean, would that be the route you're thinking, or do you think they'd go? I don't know if they'd go that route. I'm not sold that that's definitely the guy if they brought in a safety.
No, I think he'd be definitely the guy. Which two circumstances. One, he understands the system. He's very comfortable with Vic and vice versa. Two, he has to be content with waiting. A lot of guys, a lot of veteran guys don't want to go to off-season work because it's kind of meaningless for them anyway. He's not a guy who doesn't keep himself in shape. So it's not really, but when camps start, they generally want to make a decision. And obviously the minute he signs somewhere, it's over. But if he decides, you know what, I'm going to wait, see if there's an injury somewhere, see if the Eagles come around. Yeah, he'd be the guy. But again, that's wholly dependent on not being comfortable with Makuba and or Sidney Brown, and if you believe Vic, Tristan McMullen. So, do I think it's going to happen? No. But as long as he's out there, it's a possibility because he clearly wants to be here. And Vic is comfortable with him. There's no doubt about that. So it makes some sense, at least, as opposed to the 9 million other reports that'll say, oh, the Eagles are interested in blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the safety thing's interesting because I'm with you that I do think they're going to pay Reed Blankenship for sure. But based on the other moves they've made, it wouldn't be crazy for someone to look and say, oh, they're not going to pay Reed. Look at everything else they did this summer. And they spent a third on Sidney Brown and a second on Andrew Makuba. I don't know what you think about that. But I think they're going to pay Reed. I'm just saying, I don't think it'd be out of line for someone to look and say, wouldn't surprise me if they didn't pay Reed.
It would surprise the shit out of me. Yeah, they're going to pay him. They think they're going to get a deal, but
I think Reed will be willing to give him a deal. By the way, Reed got married this weekend. I saw that.
Yeah, congratulations. Somebody else I saw got married.
There was the defensive backs coach. What's his name?
Christian
I saw
Parker.
Sidney Brown. Speaking of the safety, Sidney Brown double dipped. He He went to the wedding for the defensive backs coach. I forget where it was. And then he flew to Tennessee for Reed's wedding in all in one day. So pretty impressive by Sidney Brown.
All right. Yeah, Sydney's a hard worker. They're another example of that. So, well, they have their Christian Parker. I didn't see that. Is the
No, it wasn't Christian Parker.
Joe Casper's the
Yes,
safety
that's
coach.
who it was.
Yeah.
Joe Casper.
So that's his position coach. Oh, good. When I see Joe, I'll congratulate him.
Here's the tweet from Anthony DeBona. Shout out to Anthony DeBona. He said, Eagles safety Sidney Brown somehow pulled off double wedding duty on Saturday. Brown attended Eagles safety coach Joe Casper's wedding in Ohio during the day. Then he flew to Tennessee for Reed Blankenship's wedding at night. So double dip on the wedding.
Yeah, Joe's a good dude, man. Congratulations to him. Spoke to him for a long time at the Super Bowl. And he was with Vic. He was, for those who don't know, he's with the Eagles, left to go to Miami to coach under Vic and came back with Vic from Miami. So this is his second stint with Vic and second team with Vic, second stint with the Eagles. And, there was a lot of talk about Christian Parker potentially getting defensive coordinator interviews. He did get one with Kellen, but he could be on the fast track to be a defensive coordinator if the Eagles continue to be successful. And, Joe Casper would be a guy to keep an eye on to be a secondary coach if that were to happen.
Yep, no doubt about it. Good stuff there for Sydney with the double dip, and congrats to those two guys on getting married. John, I want to shift gears. And by the way, I agree with what you said about Howie. We'll see what he does. Obviously, still a lot to do, but we'll see if he ends up addressing any of these spots. John, next thing I want to talk to you about here as we go into the last 30 minutes of our show today here on a Monday edition of Birds 365 is you wrote a little bit about this on SI.com with the right guard. You just kind of referenced it with Trevor Keegan. But you wrote Eagles training camp preview, Tyler Steen's turn on the interior. I don't know why, John, but he is the one guy I'm the least confident in will win the job he's slotted for right now. I don't know why. I'm not trying to knock the player. I think he isn't a bad player. I just don't think he's going to end up winning the job. It's just a gut feeling. I think it's going to be Pryor or one of the other guys. What do you think of that right guard position? When you wrote about it a little bit on SI, but for the people here on Birds 365, what's your thoughts coming into training camp on the right guard spot?
Yeah, I think he's going to win the job. In fact, I shipped it. I was in he's probably not going to win the job because I don't think he's performed that well when he's been given the opportunity. And then but they seem to want him to win the job. So I've compared it to Isaac Seumalo when he became the starter for the first time at left guard. He got benched 4 or 5 games in for Stefan Wisniewski. That is what I think might happen. I joked about it when I wrote about Tyler specifically. That was the preview of the interior. Previously, a couple of weeks ago, I wrote about him. If the Eagles had a vision board, Tyler Steen would be pinned up on it. They want him to win the job.
Right.
And they're going to give him, and as long as he doesn't sprain his ankle and miss 10 days of training camp, that's what happened last year. He's going to win the job for week 1. Week 6, then you got to keep an eye on it. I brought it up a lot. There are, for whatever reason, people said he played well because the Eagles won every game last year when he was forced to play. He didn't play well. Particularly poor in pass protection. And he's got to get a lot better. And I've said from the start that to me seems like he's natural. Makes sense because he played 5 years in college at tackle. He's a natural outside player, and he feels much more comfortable outside. And I think he'd be a much better tackle. but he's got shorter arms, and the NFL doesn't like that, so they projected him inside, and he struggled a little bit to pick it up. Now, to me, clearly, if you ask me, the best right guard on the Philadelphia Eagles is Matt Pryor. He had a good season in Chicago last year playing right guard. Kenyon Green was a disaster in Houston, and they started him out at left guard. They didn't even start him at right guard. So right now it's Tyler Steen, the starter, Matt Pryor, the backup. And then you have other guys, Trevor Keegan, maybe Kenyon Green starts getting some. They have a bunch of guys that can roll in. But I think, and a lot of people forget this, Tyler Steen took every single first team snap at right guard till he hurt his ankle. Darian Kennard came in to play it during that practice. He hurt his ankle. Then the next day, it was Mekhi Becton, who basically never gave it up. As long as he doesn't get hurt, he's going to take every single first team rep at right guard, and they're going to try to get him ready to play. And if he does lose the job, I think it's going to be a Sayamala Wisniewski type situation where he starts the season and then gets benched a few games into the season.
You think we're overlooking, though, this spot as a whole because of how good the offensive line always is in Philly? Like, if you think about it, Mekhi Becton's specialty last year was how good he was in the run game. We had a historic running season last year. Even if Tyler Steen is good, how much do you lose in the running game with the loss of Mekhi Becton? I know you got great offensive linemen all around him. I'm not saying you don't, but does that make us delegitimize this loss more than we should be?
No, I think it's because the Eagles have, this is the position because they have to pay. They paid Lane and Jordan and Landon and now Cam. Can't pay the fifth guy, so it's just worked out that way. And ever since Isaac left, and then the Cam Jurgens had the year there, and then Mekhi Becton, it's been sort of a rotating, revolving door. And you're going to be different. You're not going to get all the pancakes that Mekhi got. You're not going to be quite as physical. But they weren't as physical with Cam as they were with Isaac. And then they even got more physical with Mekhi than both of them. So it's going to be different. But if you got those four other guys, you're pretty confident that you're going to get competent play. Isaac was a very good player, Pro Bowl alternate. Cam was a Pro Bowl alternate at right guard. Mekhi, interestingly, was the best of the three in my estimation. He was like the fifth or sixth alternate, which is crazy to me. But whatever. It's going to be a little bit different, but yeah, if you got those four other guys, you better be able to persevere. And they got a bunch of bodies. They're going to persevere. It might not be Steen. It might not be Pryor. It might not be Keegan. It might be Green. It might be one of the rookies. Miles Hinton. Cameron.
Which one of them is the best in run support in the run game?
Of the rookies?
No, of the options at right guard. Is it Pryor?
Yeah, I would think. Well, Pryor's the best player. Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to tell on the other guys because a lot of them haven't played yet. But
yeah, he had a very good year last year, Matt Pryor. Nobody paid attention because the quarterback got sacked a million times, but that was the quarterback's fault. He had a very good year.
I still feel like it's going to be Pryor.
It might be, but it won't be until like week 4, week 5.
Yeah, I guess they want Steen to win it, but does Jalen Hurts get an advantage from getting shorter at that right guard spot?
Not if Matt's in there. Matt's 6'7".
Is he? Is he? Well, yeah. Is he as big as Becton?
Oh yeah. Oh well, he's not as heavy, but Matt is tall. Matt was a tackle in college.
These offensive linemen in the NFL are something else, man. They're some big human beings.
Jalen, I asked Jalen that question last year when they moved Mekhi back, and he admitted it's an issue, But
yeah, Jalen's what, 6'1", 6'2"?
They list him as 6'2", I think. Prior 6'7", by the way.
I don't know if he's 6'2".
Yeah, he's not. He's not.
I've met Hurts in person. He didn't.
He's not the strapping Justin Herbert type who's going to see over everything. But he was fine last year. That was my first thing. Like, you're really going to play Mekhi Becton at guard, but Landon Dickerson's 6'6". They're all huge.
It's crazy how big they are. Do you think the change, John, of the assistant offensive line coach, what do you think the impact of that is? Remember, TJ Paganetti left for New Orleans. He's been here for a little bit, and now Stoutland replaced him with Greg Austin, who has previously worked with Stoutland, but it's been, I think, 10 years. What has it been? 10 years, right?
Yeah, he was his first assistant. Now I think, in fact, Jeff Stoutland. He was Jeff Stoutland's first. The Eagles always have an assistant offensive line coach. He was Stoutland's first when Chip Kelly got here, Greg Austin. And then he left to go to college. And he's back in the NFL with Jacksonville over the past 2 years. And now he's back with Stout. TJ got a better role with Kellen Moore. So he's one of the guys who left to go to the Saints. But yeah, it's hard to worry about Jeff Stout.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about him, but I do.
But it's always interesting to me that, like, to me, I would have expected these guys, like Greg Austin went on to become the offensive line coach at Central Florida and Nebraska, and then Florida International. Like, TJ didn't get the offensive line coach job in New Orleans. I forget. I have to look up his title, but he got a promotion. But he had a more varied background than just offensive line when he was here. So he was assistant running backs coach. He was a quality control coach. He was a run game specialist, assistant tight ends coach before he was the assistant offensive line coach. So his title in New Orleans is run game coordinator, which is, Jeff, that's also Jeff's title here, by the way, for people that don't know. He's the offensive line coach and the run game coordinator. So, Kellen is trying to bring some of that Eagles running right, coordinating magic with TJ, but no, I'm not worried about Jeff Stoutland, and he knows.
No, I just didn't know if it had an impact on these back end guys. You know what I mean? Because maybe Jeff doesn't have as much time to spend with them versus the starting five guys who he's working day in and day out with, and the running game, to obviously coordinate on a week to week basis for the games. Maybe that the backup guy, has a little bit of an impact on those backups who are vying for roles and playing time. I mean, some of these guys got to get cut, right? Not everybody can make the team.
Yeah. Well, they got 14, I think, legitimate NFL offensive linemen.
That's what I mean. How many are they keeping?
They can't keep them all. And you would think, they'll try to keep them all with the practice squad.
How many did they keep last year? 10, 11, 12?
10. Well, on the 53, at the most you're going to go is 10. But then you try to get people. Now, the problem is they're probably not going to be able to get any of the rookies through waivers. At least Howie's going to think that way, I will say. So, the mentality is, well, they were working with Stoutland, so somebody else, because there's so many offensive line deficient teams that somebody else will claim them. So you got to carry Drew Kendall, which is not a problem. They want to carry Drew Kendall because they want a real backup center. And by the way, he's another guy. He's going to cross-train at guard, so don't sleep on him. Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams. I guarantee they keep Kendall and Miles Hinton. I guarantee it from talking to people. Cameron Williams, maybe they try to get him through waivers. I doubt it. Howie doesn't like to cut his picks. That's why I say, like, if somebody steps up and Steen doesn't win the job, he's a potential trade bait. Matt Pryor, potential trade bait.
Right.
I think they keep Pryor because Pryor's so versatile. I think the plan with Pryor is he's the sixth man. He can play left guard, left tackle, right tackle. He can play all four positions except center. I think the goal with him is six man.
And what about Steen, though? Can Steen do those things? I mean, because you talked about Steen being a natural tackle. Could he, in theory, be a swing tackle or no?
Yeah, well, in my mind, yeah, I brought that up in the past. I thought he should have been their swing tackle, to be honest, because he's more comfortable outside. They don't seem to think of him that way. He's gotten some reps at tackle because of injuries in camp, and he looked better. But for whatever reason, that it's hard. Similar to when the occasional thing I say, yeah, I don't agree with Vic. It's the same thing with Jeff Stoutland. It's hard to say I don't agree with Jeff Stoutland, but I don't agree with Jeff Stoutland on Tyler Steen. I'm not afraid to say that. But, yeah, getting back to the assistant offensive line coaches, Roy Isban was before TJ. And Eugene Chung was here at one point. It's always amazed me that those guys don't get offensive line coaching jobs. Like, if I were in one of these shitty teams with no offensive line, the first thing I do is go, all right, who's Stoutland's assistant? I'm going to hire that guy. I don't get it.
Well, so Kellen Moore's doing something smart.
Well, yeah, it's different. He split the role, so he's got an offensive line coach and a run game coordinator, whereas Jeff does both of those roles. But Jeff's been around for a long time.
But he brought in the somebody from the pipeline to try and get a little piece of that.
Yeah. I have no problem with it. They have a good running game to begin with. They should have a good running game because they have a good offensive line when McCoy's healthy. He'll be back healthy, and Kamara's still got some juice. They'll probably have a good offensive line, that good running game, respectively speaking. But everybody's going to force Tyler Shuck to beat them. I mean, my God, Tyler Shuck is probably going to be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Good luck, Kellen.
We'll see what happens there. I'm curious to see about the right guards. Probably, I don't know. I know we feel better about the offense because you got 10 of 11 starters returning, but I do think that's one of the more interesting position battles for training camp for sure. In my estimation.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be disappointing for people.
You think it's going to be steam through all the way through?
Steam all the way through.
We'll see what ends up happening with Tyler Steen. You confident he'll be good?
No.
No, me neither. Me neither. We'll see what ends up happening.
Wasn't good last year. What is it? Osmosis? 75th of 77 of
and what was Pryor?
Pryor was top 20.
So why are you saying Steen?
Oh, because the Eagles want him. I'm not saying Steen.
Did the Eagles want him, or does Jeff Stoutland want him?
Jeff Stoutland wants him. And the Eagles want him because Jeff Stoutland want him.
All right. Or is it the Eagles want him because they spent a draft pick on him, a third-round pick on him?
Well, that's part of it. But, Jeff Stoutland believes in him. So, I mean, people are going to lean on, and I realize people are going to believe Stout before me, and they should.
Listen, and I'm good with that. I'm not. I don't think.
And they should, but hey, results are results. You put on the film. He was terrible in pass protection. 77 guards ranked by Pro Football Focus last year. 75 was Tyler Steen. 76 was Kenyon Green. And the only one worse was Setoa Lumea of Seattle.
So we got 75 and 76 on our squad.
75 and 76.
Can you add them up and get to 72 maybe?
And by the way, the Setoa Lumea was the worst pass protector. He only played 355 snaps. So obviously he's on a bad offensive line team to begin with, and he's a backup who forced to play. Landon Young, New Orleans, same thing, forced to play through the injury. Tyler Steen was the third worst pass protector, same thing, forced to play due to injury. But he's the third worst guard in pass protection. Even Kenyon Green was better.
How much leash you think they have on Steen? You mentioned it. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, you said?
Yeah, I think I look at Isaac. First time they wanted Isaac, probably wasn't ready. Third round pick, very similar, so similar. Third round pick, they thought really highly of. Put him in there a little bit too early, was overmatched, and they went to the veteran, Wisniewski.
Right. Boy, Steve, man, look at Steve. This will be our downfall this year.
I'm not gonna go. Give me a break. Come on, Steve. They got four of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. They're going to be fine, no matter who rolls out there. But I think.
Well, look, earlier he said O-line is only as good as the weakest link. Maybe he's right about that, J-Mac.
Well, did anybody notice? They all thought Tyler Steen played well last season.
How many games did Steen play last year?
How many games? All of them probably, but how many legitimately? He had 3 snaps are more important. He had, because a couple times Mackay was out because he had his own, degenerative knee condition, which is one of the reasons he's not here, by the way.
Right.
But he ended up.
I still think he should have been brought back. I mean, what did he get? $7 million, right? $6 million?
I'd have to look it up. He ended up playing 399 snaps, which is pretty significant. Yeah. He played a lot of snaps in week 3, week 7, week 8, week 15, week 18, and the NFC Championship game, because remember what happened there. Landon had to start at center, so he started a left guard, and then Landon got hurt and Cam came in, so he played essentially the whole game in the NFC Championship game. So he played a lot due to injury. And if you looked at individually, it wasn't great. But not too many people noticed, because those other 4 were clicking.
Yeah, they certainly were. I don't know if I disagree fully with Steve, though. I mean, if you're only as good as your weakest link, I don't know if I disagree.
Well, how'd they persevere with him last year? Will it be more difficult? Yes.
How much will it change for the quarterback? I mean, it might be, might have to run out of that pocket.
Well, that's what'll get him benched, because the quickest way to get to any quarterback in the league is interior pressure, and that's his weak point, pass protection. So if you start getting that immediate pressure right up the middle, that's what will get him benched. It won't be about the run game. It'll be about pass protection.
We'll see what happens with it at the right guard spot. Johnny Mac, 8 minutes left to go here on the show. And we got the training camp 2 weeks away, man. It's amazing. So what if it's Monday, and I said it was, so they report on Tuesday
they report on Tuesday, practice Wednesday.
Okay, so that's where the 16 days comes from. That's how far out we are on training camp. Less than 2.5 weeks, really. on training camp. And 2 weeks from now, we'll be discussing training camp. Should be good, John. I'm excited to see the videos and see the storylines. I'm excited to have you down at camp, obviously, to give us the rundown each day on training camp. What's the schedule like once training camp starts? Is it multiple days a week? How many days a week is it? 3 days, 4 days? I forget what they do.
Oh, well, yeah. It's, there are stretches. Now the Eagles have gone to a more heavy classroom walkthrough for a couple reasons. One, they don't want us there, and they don't have to have us there if they're having a walkthrough. So, it's lighter than it's ever been from the standpoint of they'll have 2 practices, then take a day off or have a walkthrough. They're not taking days off. But from the standpoint of optics, it'll be a day off. And they've done that over the past few years. And it's worked, so they're not going to go away from it as much as Vic complains. Vic wants to practice.
Yeah, agreed. We'll see how much practice they get. Vic, if Vic could have it his way, he'd be back to 2 days, J-Mac.
Well, they were heavier practice last year because of Vic, so it'll probably be similar to last year, but still a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of, So you might see a Birds 365, Thursday morning or that first week, and then they practice Friday and Saturday, and they'll do, walkthrough Sunday, that type of thing, that type of schedule.
We'll give you guys football 24/7s as well during that time. So we'll keep you guys posted, man, all throughout with the coverage of training camp. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm ready to go. I like the offseason, but I'm ready to go. I mean, I'm ready to get the speculation behind us and start talking about some football, J-Mac. I really am.
Well, training camp just ramps up the speculation.
Well, I know, but I still like it. At least they're on the field. At least J-Mac's down there and he can say, I saw nothing.
Well, hey, you don't have to trust me, but find somebody who knows what they're doing to trust, because there are a lot of people that don't understand how to watch practice. And I could say that, and people think I'm being a dick. I could say that because it took me about 15 years to learn how to watch an NFL practice. It takes a long time, and you have to talk to a lot of people, and you have to want to learn. So when you hear so-and-so gets beat at practice, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what you're here for, John. I think that's where such a unique part about you is that you bring that type of knowledge to the show without a doubt. So the viewers appreciate it. I certainly appreciate it. And we'll get all that coverage here on JAKIB Sports on All Birds 365 all through the offseason. I want to thank Chris A.M. Look at this, Johnny Mac. 10 JAKIB Sports memberships gifted by my boy Chris A.M. Thank you, brother. We appreciate that. It's a good time, too, because plenty of giveaway stuff will be announced soon. We're going to be doing all that. We didn't have anything show-based. Like last year, Saquon giveaway came about because of our discussions here on the show. We haven't had anything like that yet. I don't know, Johnny.
Will Shipley. Somebody wants a Will Shipley.
No, I'm not giving away Will Shipley. Come on, man. I can't do that, John. It's got to be somebody good.
All right. The Will Shipley hate continues.
No, I love Will Shipley, actually, but I just don't want to give away his jerseys.
Well, most people don't want his jersey, so it works out.
Yeah, no. What's his name? Brian Pumper said he'll use it as a doormat. Chris Diane, thank you for the membership, man. That's cool of you. That's cool of you to gift out 10. Who got him? I don't know who got him. I'll go and look on YouTube who was gifted a membership, but that's pretty good. Q Interceptions is actually a good one. I'd like to give away some Quignon jerseys. I want to get jerseys of guys who are going to be like Eagle legends, even if they don't finish in Philly.
Well, if you're a Jersey person, you should buy an Eagles legend.
Yeah, but when they win the Super Bowl, you kind of become a little bit more immortalized, if you have a big impact. Like, for example, Devontae Smith's jersey will probably always be a good jersey. A.J. Brown's jersey will always be a good jersey. Saquon Barkley's jersey will now always be a good jersey. I'd say Jalen Hurts' jersey will always be a good jersey, regardless of how the careers unfold because of what they accomplished here.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, the guys who are already accomplished, yeah.
Well, the whole team, kind of. I mean, they won the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, but no, because are you getting a Milt Williams shirt? Are you getting a Josh Sweat jersey? I mean, no, I mean, Josh Sweat arguably should have been the Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, no, he shouldn't have. I don't think he should have.
Why not?
John, you tell me every day how sacks are overrated. You're going to give him the MVP because he got 2.5 sacks?
No, I'm saying it's not the fact that it's not even discussed, and Milton as well. The fact that it's not even discussed. Like if I could have given an MVP for the Super Bowl, and I don't get the vote for that, it would have been to the defensive line as a whole because they won the game. They won the game. They dominated.
They did. They. I mean,
now everybody played well. I'm not trying.
What's the stat though? The Chiefs didn't pass midfield until the 10th drive or something. I mean, that is just absurd.
Yeah, I think it was 8 drives, 9. So the 9th drive, but the crazy part is that there's however 280 whatever games. It had not happened in the NFL before the Super Bowl last season. It did not happen in any game. Think about all the shitty offenses. And all the meaningless games and all the Jacksonville and Tennessee games, no offense during the entire season failed to reach the 50-yard line for 8 consecutive drives until the Super Bowl. And it was Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid who couldn't get past the 50. And you're telling me that defensive front shouldn't have been the fucking MVP?
Yeah, but you can't give MVPs to the defensive front.
I know, but I can. I think it's funny that the 2 greatest quarterbacks of the prior generation, let's say the prior generation and the current generation, all people look at as Super Bowls. Oh, they won Super Bowls. They won Super Bowls. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Look at the Super Bowls they lost. All commonality. Defensive front dominating. Completely taking them out of the football game, right, with the exception of the one Brady loss in Super Bowl 52 to the Eagles. The other 2 losses.
That's pretty cool that the Eagles have beaten Brady and Mahomes in Super Bowls, isn't it?
Not to me. I don't care. They won
what
the
do you
Super
mean?
Bowl.
You still cover the game of football. Those are 2 of the most iconic quarterbacks in the last,
Well, I'd look at it more micro. Why did they beat the quarterback? Now, the Eagles, the Super Bowl, in many ways, the Super Bowl 52 win was the biggest anomaly I've ever seen. So from that perspective, they won a shootout against Tom Brady thrown for 500 yards.
That is crazy.
Now that is interesting to me.
With the backup quarterback.
That is an anomaly. And like I say, to this day, Jim Schwartz is still pissed off about that game. I know that because of how his defense played.
Right.
So that kind of stuff is interesting to me, but I'm surprised more people don't realize that, hey, when you impact the quarterback with interior pressure, they have a problem. Doesn't matter if the quarterback is the greatest of all time or some guy you think is terrible. They all turn into nothing if you get interior pressure right up the middle. Every single one of them.
I agree with that. All right, Johnny Mac, good show today, brother. Your final thoughts on this Monday edition of Birds 365. Well done today, everybody. Appreciate all of you.
The anxiety is ramping up for everyone, for me, but not Jeff Kerr is on vacation. Sorry, one last shot at my buddy Jeff Kerr, but he'll be back next week. But yeah, I needed Jeff to take some of the shots.
We got him today. Johnny Mac, great show, brother. Talk to you tomorrow on a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Well done.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. There's Johnny Mac. John McMullen here on Birds 365. Great job by J Mac today. Great show, and appreciate all of you guys who are here in the chat with me right now. I'm going to take a couple of comments because I'm interested in the topic we're discussing right now. Dirty Air, I kind of agree with you. You're like, if you win Super Bowls, you're going to beat great quarterbacks. And I agree with that. But I do think the Eagles, too, are still special. Like, I'm looking at Mahomes, and I saw you bring him up. Who did Mahomes beat in the Super Bowls? Well, who did he beat in 2020? Who was San Francisco's quarterback in 2020? Does anybody know who it was? Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So you got Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts. So Mahomes beat Jalen Hurts, which was a big win for him. But I don't know. Jimmy G and Brock Purdy aren't quite beating Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes, right? I mean, well done, Mahomes and all, but I'd rather beat Brady and Mahomes for my two. All right? I'd rather beat Brady and Mahomes. You got Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. Come on, Brock. So I don't know. I think the Eagles do have two really impressive Super Bowls. I love that. I love that. I love that. Fredo wants to whip the new vet. I did go with the white one for those interested. Yeah, weird, man. That's right there, there. Eli, man, that's Brady's kryptonite right there. That's getting him into the Hall of Fame. That'll get Eli Manning into the Hall of Fame with a 500 record. You heard me and John debate that before, I'm sure. I think Eli should actually be a Hall of Famer. I know that's probably a controversial opinion for Eagles fans, but I do think Eli deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, if you have a guy who won 7 Super Bowls and went to 10, right? Is that what Brady went to, 10? He went to 10, right, and won 7. He lost to Foles, and he lost to Eli twice. Like, that's pretty good if Eli's 2 of Brady's 3 losses in the Super Bowls. He does. He struggles with midsters. Nick Foles and Eli Manning, man, knocked him out. It's amazing. That's right, Abe. NFC East teams. Boy, Brady must hate the NFC East. 7 of 10. That's a pretty good hit rate, right, Keese? I see Camel Keese still got the camel profile picture. I'd like to see that picture superimposed a little bit bigger, Keese. You're like flexing up on the camel and stuff. That's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. Angelo says, I'm glad we beat 2 of the best quarterbacks. There was no excuses that the Eagles won those 2 Super Bowls. Angelo, you and me both, brother. You and me both. Alfredo checking in. What up, Alfredo? I saw you tweeting to me, brother. I saw you tweeting to me. I'll be honest, 4th of July, you know what I did? You guys want to know what I did? 4th of July, I checked out a little bit. I'm like, let me gear up. Let me get ready to go. So I wasn't on the phone much this weekend, but I will say I do want to send some prayers. That story in Texas is gut-wrenching. I don't even want to talk about it because that's a gut-wrenching story, man. I really struggle to read about some of it. So I'm praying for those people. I'm praying for their families and everything that happened there. That was a really, really sad story over the 4th of July weekend. But Dirty Air says, this year it'll be us beating Josh Allen or Lamar. You think so? I got Allen. McMullen and Cilio both have the Ravens going to the Super Bowl. So they got Lamar. I think it's us for sure. And then I think it's Allen. So I don't think Allen's going to beat us, though. I don't think that Bills team is going to be good enough to compete with us. Oscar Orlando. Josh, I weirdly like Oscar. I think Oscar's in the lead right now. Who's in the lead? Let me check that. F1 drivers standings. Is Oscar in the lead right now, or is it Lando? Yeah, Oscar's in the lead by 8 points, and then Verstappen's a little bit back. I was hoping Verstappen could pull it out, but that Red Bull car is just not good enough. So, but yeah, Piastri, man, how about it? He's a good driver, man. Kind of a not a great look for Lando, I guess you could say. I mean, Lando's still obviously doing really good this year, but he is getting beaten out. Lando was kind of supposed to be like the anointed one for them, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see what ends up happening. Lando just took Silverstone to close gap. I didn't see it. I didn't watch the race, so I'll check the highlights on it, though. I always look at the highlights. Kimberly says, I'm glad you chose the white, not a fan of the blue. Yeah, I did choose the white. All right. You guys want to see a photo? You guys want to see a photo of the new ride? Yo, Dirty Air, I'm going to be pulling up to this at the NASCAR. I'm feeling unbelievable about that. Let me tell you. There's with the top down. Oh, wait, I got to turn off my Woo! Oh! Sweet car. Really nice. D. Hughes, what's up, brother? Good to see you in here, my man. Good to see you in here. Alfredo checks in and says, Sill said we wouldn't be in the Super Bowl again. Can't wait for him to eat crow come February. Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. Abe, I did, man. I did. I picked it up. I got rid of the truck. I got the deal I got on that bet is just, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how good of it is. How good of a ride I got. Look at him, Reyes, coming to purse. He's like, you got rid of your truck. Big Mike. Yo, Big Mike. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. I saw your tweet. I think Big Mike, is that you? That's you on Twitter, right? I don't want to say your whole name. I don't know if you don't want to reveal it. That is you on Twitter, right? I'm pretty sure it is. Yo, Reyes, listen to this. So I drove my Ram for 32 months. It's 2.5, almost 3 years. 32 months. 2 years and 8 months. I put 40,000 miles on it. All right, 40,000 miles in 32 months. My total cost of ownership, including insurance, not including gas. Gas, I mean, is different. But including insurance, including any car payment I made, everything. My total cost of ownership in that almost 3 year span was $5,000. So it cost me almost $1,500 a year to drive that Ram. $1,700 a year. I was like, man, I made out like a bandit on that Ram. I made out like a bandit. I mean, I fleeced, man. I fleeced. You guys want to hear it? Woo! I love cars. I love cars. I really do. They're so cool. It's like my favorite. It's like my favorite invention by man is cars. Right at the bat, dude. I made out. That's why I made the deal, because I'm in there. I'm running the numbers. I'm running the math, and I'm looking at everything. I'm like, this is too good. I got to get rid of this truck. I can't keep this truck. But now I'm already like, fuck, I need a truck. Fuck, I need a truck. Yes, I got the coupe. Not the. So there's actually a convertible vet. It's like electric, and you can drop the top, but they cover up the engine bay on those. So I got the coupe. The top does come off. It's really nice. Really nice. Fredo, you want, brother? You come over, man. Yeah, Dirty Air. I cannot wait. So I told you guys this before, but Dirty Air is one of our great supporters here on JAKIB Sports, and he's sending me to I thank him very much. Sending me to NASCAR July 20th, I believe the event is. It's that weekend. Dirty Air, I'm going to reach out to you to just look for a text from me. I want to ask you like how I should play. You think I should get like an Airbnb out there and stay in Dover for a couple of days? That's what I'm thinking of doing, right? But I wanted to ask you, like, should I just drive in for a day? Like, so I'm going to reach out to you. I'll get some input if you have some minutes, if you have a little bit of minutes for me, and we'll discuss that. But I'm really looking forward to meeting you. I assume I'm going to meet you, obviously, and we'll be able to spend some time together. I'm really looking forward to that, depending on how much time you have. I know you're a working man at those events. And then I'm just looking forward to seeing the cars and the NASCAR. So I got to read up a little bit. I want to get up to date on the NASCAR and learn more about it before I get there, because I like to be knowledgeable about what I'm looking at. So I'm Dirty Air. I got asked this weekend, what's my bucket list thing for the summer? And I'm like, well, work is picking up already. That's it. I'm most excited for the NASCAR. That's like number one on my list. My brother, Dirty Air, took off the Friday, took off the Monday. He's like, I want to lock in. I'm like, all right, lock in with me. So I'm really looking forward to it, man. And I'm really appreciative of you. So thank you so much, brother. Thank you, man. The no-brainer was the white one, because you know how it was taken care of. Exactly, Big Mike. That's what ultimately I went to it. Nah, I don't drag her. I drive safe, man. I'm not crazy, man. I'm not crazy on the roads. Big Z, you ever been open to starting a Discord? Well, somebody in here started the Discord. It wasn't me, but somebody's got a Discord. I haven't been on that thing in months. Are you goobers still talking in that? Yeah, it looks like you are. Yeah, you goobers are still talking in this. Which one am I in, though? I'm in two. Bob Brown made one, and I think Flexen made one. I haven't seen Flexen in a while. Yeah. So there's one. I don't know if you want to join it. Go ahead. I love the cold start. Yeah, me too, bro. There are 2 Discords. I don't know, man. I don't do Discord. I don't really know how it works. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just go on there, and if anybody chirps at me, I chirp them back. Yo, what'd you guys get into? 4th of July. Did everybody have a good weekend or what? What'd you guys do? Did you guys have some time with the family? Did you grill out? Anybody grill up anything good? I always like to hear the grill stories. I did not man the grill at all for 4th of July. I was at my uncle's, so my uncle was manning the grill. He's got this awesome grill, by the way. I like the Blackstone, but I do like charcoal grills, and they're kind of a pain in the ass. But he's got this Weber that really, like, I don't know what it does. I didn't ask him enough about it. He was busy, so I didn't really talk to him as much about it as I would have liked. But looked like it had like the whole setup for the charcoal to be easy, basically. Really simplified the charcoal process. So really, really badass grill. But he cooked us up some dogs, some burgers. It was really good, and some ribs. He had some ribs for us. So we had ribs, burgers, dogs. Some of my mom's homemade food she brought over, and I was at my uncle's for 4th of July, and then I went down to Ocean City for the weekend with my girlfriend. So she stays down there. Her family has a house down there, and that's where she lives. So they stay over there on the bay. So I was down there for the weekend. You see, I got some color, man. I was on the beach. I was like, "Ooh, it's hot. It's hot." I got some color for sure. So it was a nice weekend, though. Nice weekend. I will say this, and I love my girlfriend and I love her family and everything, and I had a great weekend with them. But when you buy a vet on Thursday before 4th of July, and you're like me, all you want to do is stand in your driveway and look at your car like this. That's it. With a microfiber cloth. That's all I wanted to do all weekend. I couldn't really do it all weekend, but it's all right. I had a great time. I had a good time. Damn, Josh, where are you from? It was beautiful here, man. Beautiful here, man. Zeal says, I did ribs and watched fireworks in the rain. Where were you guys? It was raining, I guess. Zeal, you're Florida? Are you Florida, Zeal? I don't know where you are, Zeal. Family parties, chilled and swim. Nice, brother. Tony says he smoked some ribs. Me and Tony had a great convo on Thursday about the vet. Tony's a proud C8 owner as well. I argue the C8 is the greatest American manufactured car ever made. Yeah, somebody can debate me on that, but that's my favorite. All right, the mid-engine, everything. The way it looks, the way it drives, the handling. I mean, it's just a thing of beauty. It really is. Oh, the Finger Lakes. Kimberly, I've never been to the Finger Lakes, but I do hear good things. You say you're retiring up there, so obviously you'd like it too. I've heard good things. I've never been, though. I've never been to the Finger Lakes. I've always been weirded out by the name, but not that would keep me away. Not that would keep me away. C8, I like C7s too. Bird Gang says C8's the only vet I like. I don't know. Those C7s are hot. I like C5s. Dude, those C5s, Bird Gang girl, those C5s, what is that, the LT? Was that the LT1, I think? I forget what engine was in that. That car was LS1, excuse me. LS1. That CT5 has been crushing people's dreams on the drag strip for years, dude. Those CT5s they're a good base to work with. I'll say that. M. Reyes checking in. What's up, M. Reyes? Hiked up a mountain and swam in a spring out in West Texas. Caught fireworks in a small town. M. Reyes, that sounds like a beautiful weekend, brother. I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy you had a good weekend. 4th of July is a great weekend. I love any time you get with your family. That's a holiday I like. So I'm a family-oriented person. I love my family. I'm very close to my brother, so I got to hang out with my brother. Wait, so you guys want to get a kick out of this? Me and my brother are very close. We're really best friends. I have a lot of great friends in life, but my brother is. He's my best friend. I got something happens, I text my brother. We want to talk about something, I text my brother. I get into a hobby, I text my brother. That's how my life is. My brother and I are very, very, very close. We're very close with our dad too. So 3 Krause men. But now he's like, guess what he's doing? So he was over Thursday or Friday for 4th of July, and we drove my vet together, and he driving it around. So he's shopping vets. He's shopping C8s. I told you, my brother's a hot shot too. He crushes it, man. His business is killing it in New York. So C6, Z06 is hot. I love the C7 Z06s too, Tony. And you can get that thing in a manual. Oh, they're hot. They're hot. Dirty Air says, we race up there at Watkins Glen. It's a blast to camp and hike and stuff. Yeah, that's Dirty Air. So now that I got the vet too, I'm trying to, I want to take it to a track for sure. I've been looking into some tracks. I've been looking into the Ron Fellows. I don't know if you know anything about that, Tony, the Ron Fellows school, but I'm going to get married soon. So I told my brother, I'm like, for my bachelor party, I'm not a drinker. Like I'm not really a partier anymore. It's just not, doesn't do it for me. Doesn't really make me go the distance. But I told my brother, that's what I want to do. Get the vets and go to the track together for a day or two. That's what I want to do. All right. So we'll see. Holy moly. Chris A.M. Thank you, dude. Chris A.M. dropped 10 memberships today and a $50 super chat. Chris A.M., big supporter of the show and the channel. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. He says, love you, Z, and the whole JAKIB family. Hope I can support for some. Stay up, brothers. Go Birds. Happy 4th all. Thank you, man. I mean that. I appreciate that so much, Chris A.M. My Catholic brother in Christ. Thank you, bro. Thank you, man, for the support of the channel. Really means a lot. I got to go look at who won your 10 gifteds, too. So he gives 10 memberships and gives a $50 super chat. I mean, come on. Does it get better than that? That's big. That's major love. Thank you, bro. Yeah, that might be the one, 30 years. Is that the Ron Fellows School in Spring Mountain? Spring. Yeah, I think that's the Spring. I think that's the Ron Fellows one. Yeah, that is it. That's it. Yeah, and the Blackwing, Dirty Air. I was thinking about getting a CT4 because there was a great price on one at my mom's dealership. I only get really what's at my mom's dealership because I just get such good deals. That's why I made out so good on my truck, by the way. Got a huge trade value for it. Got it for a great price when I bought the thing. So it works out well. I'm lucky to have that. But those Blackwings are the CT5s are, and you can get it in a manual. Those things are crazy, dude. Those things are crazy. Now, we are not campers. We are not campers. But I don't hate it. I could do it. I'd thrive out there, Fredo. Put me in the wild. I'll make it happen. All right? What do you think, Dirty Air? CT5 or CT4? You got kids, so you thinking CT5? CT4 is a little smaller. You thinking CT5? They're a little. It was out of my price range right now, but they are beautiful, man. They're literally stupendous cars. Chris is the real deal. Yeah, he is. Fly Eagles Fly. How you doing? I hope you had a great 4th of July. Good to see you in here. There you go. You got the family view. That's what Dirty Air. That's what I now need to grab. I'm gonna get married soon. I buy a Corvette. I'm down there with my girlfriend's family. They're probably looking at me like, what the hell? This dude got rid of his truck and shows up in a 2-seat Corvette. Oh, man. I'm funny. I get a kick out of myself sometimes. Well, the CT5 is a lot faster, man. CT5 is a lot faster. That CT5 is nuts. Zander said he camps with the Hilton. No Hilton for me. No Hilton for me. I want to look into 30. I do want to look into Airbnb out there so I can just kind of be out there. I'm sure it's a whole spectacle of an event, as always. Kimberly says, thing I love most about football, my bro and I are BFFs. That's awesome. Yeah, Carmine, right, Kimberly? Carmine, is that your brother? Carmine's been on the channel before. I haven't seen him in a little bit, but he's been on the channel. I love the Sirico family. And I love your, is it your uncle? It's your uncle, right? Tony Sirico? Dirty Air. That's epic. Are you going to get into racing? I've seen people who are into that. That is really awesome. If you do that, I'd be so enamored. I'll follow your career everywhere, dude. Going into my own racing career, I'll be racing a legend car in a few weeks. That's awesome, dude. Kimberly Sirico, one promise I have to you is I'll never in my life drive a minivan. All right? Now, the dream would be the vet's in the garage, the truck for my daily, and my wife can get whatever she wants. I think she would like a big Escalade or something big. She would want something big, a big mom car. I want a lot of kids, God willing, obviously. So, God willing. But we'll see how it all shakes out. All right, everybody. I appreciate you all being here today, man. Great show today. A lot of fun. Back here on a Monday. We're getting close to camp. It's like I can almost taste it. It's palpable. As a hobby, more to get a feel for that side of it in case my kids want to. That's awesome, Dirty Air. You'll enjoy it, man. You'll enjoy it, man. That's really dope. That is really dope. But awesome stuff. I appreciate all of you guys for being here. All right, it's been great as always. And I appreciate each and every one of you for being here, for liking, for sharing, for subscribing. I want a big thanks to Chris AM today, dude. That's a lot of love, man. $50 super chat, 10 gifted memberships. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. Big thanks to Dirty Air. I've mentioned that. Sending me to NASCAR in 2 weeks. It's like the thing I'm most excited for this summer. Brandon Howard, I missed you, brother. Good to see you in here, B-How. I missed you, bro. It's all right. You needed a detox. You're going to come back strong. All right. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Big Mike, thank you for reaching out over on Twitter, brother. Ian East, hope you're doing good over in the UK, my man. Appreciate you. Bird Gang Girl, you know I love you. One of our best supporters on here. Izzy B, good to see you in here. Hope you had a great 4th of July. Dirty Air, Kimberly, M. Reyes, Tony's in here. I appreciate all of you guys, man. Hit that like button for me, and I'll see you tomorrow on Birds 365. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.